My name is Ginny, also known as 2/3 Lotus, everywhere on the internet. This clip is part of my series, The Poets of Twitch, where I analyze my viewers' writing live on stream. Nothing has been edited out, so you're seeing this exactly as streamed with all of the imperfections and tangents that come with being live. If you want to catch me live or want more information, check out the description. Otherwise, enjoy some excellent writing.
The stream is good. The stream has been quiet, but it's. We did a poem. We did Charles Bukowski, and it was kind of a fun poem to analyze. So that's good. And now we're doing another. So I can't. I have no reason to complain. Life is good. So. Here is the Call of Darkness, and is by Ümit Yaşar Oğuzcan, to my best pronunciation, translated by YoungSolina, which you absolutely deserve credit for. Because translations are very difficult, especially when you're trying to preserve the spirit, the feeling of the poem. That's like super important, and translators are like amazing. They're great. They're as important as poets. So without further ado, The Call of Darkness. I never wanted it to be like this. I should have either been so close to you or so far away. There should have been insurmountable obstacles between us. There should have been high mountains, deep seas. I should have been far from you. I wanted insurmountable obstacles between us. I wanted great mountains, deep seas between us. I shouldn't have the strength to come to you. I should have poured all the wrath of my helplessness into the distances, like a shepherd's fire burning on a mountain, like a star in the sky. I should have seen you, lived you, and been so far away from you. I know your beauty resembles underground rivers. I know you are as beautiful as a secret. There are feelings that cannot be expressed. There are songs that we love but cannot sing. Poems we have forgotten. Familiar faces we no longer can recognize. The Call of Darkness by Ümit Yaşar Oğuzcan, translated by YoungSolina. And I'm going to, for just a moment, return to my face so I can put it in chat what we are reading, because that will help anyone coming in to know what the heck is going on. We are currently reading, quote, The Call of Darkness, The Call of Darkness by Ümit Yaşar Oğuzcan. I'm not sure if I can do all the diacritics. We'll get there. We'll get there on the poem. Don't worry. I think it's an umlaut on the U. Option. Okay, let's see. I can do some of the diacritics. Meet Yes. It's a struggle. Yasar. Oh, and I can copy that one. Thank you. I had 2 of them down. Copy. Paste. Translated by at YoungSolina. I do like the poem. I think it is beautiful. I think it speaks to some of this stuff well, but also I can't say quite what I like about it confidently until I've analyzed it, which is why we do this. So, returning to the poem and the poem reading screen, here we are. And I'm going to read it again. You're so excited? I'm glad you're excited. The Call of Darkness. I never wanted it to be like this. I should have either been so close to you or so far away. There should have been insurmountable obstacles between us. There should have been high mountains, deep seas. I should have been far from you. I wanted insurmountable obstacles between us. I wanted great mountains, deep seas between us. I shouldn't have had the strength to come to you. I should have poured all the wrath of my helplessness into the distances, like a shepherd's fire burning on a mountain, like a star in the sky. I should have seen you, lived you, and been so far away from you. I know your beauty resembles underground rivers. I know you are as beautiful as a secret. There are feelings that cannot be expressed. There are songs that we love but cannot sing. Poems we have forgotten. Familiar faces we can no longer recognize. The Call of Darkness by Ümit Yaşar Oğuzcan, translated by YoungSolina. I think this is interesting. I like this. I have 2 initial interpretations coming into my head. One of just romantic love, one of a sort of religious relationship with like a god. Either is cool. Oh, is that the is that the poem in Turkish? Because I'm not going to try to read that. If there's a recording anywhere online of this poem, I would be happy to play it on stream, because to hear the actual original, just the sound of it, does in some way help. OMG. So, I never wanted it. No, I didn't mean to send the text. Fair enough. Is that like a completely unrelated text to the poem that someone who knows Turkish would find odd to have in chat, that you would like deleted out of chat? Or should I just leave it there? I never wanted it to be like this. Should have either been so close or so far away. There should have been. There should have been. So, this is a word that I like to look at. What the heck? Should have been, should have been. Should have. Should have either been so close to you or so far away. There should have been obstacles between us. There should have been high mountains, deep seas. So we create a sort of dichotomy where there either should have been distance or proximity. Between, that's proximity, it's cut off. Maybe I should just erase that. Proximity. And it's one or the other. There is no in between here. Should have been one of these two. Which tells me probably if we should have had one of these, then we probably didn't, right? I should have either, but I was not. There should have been one, but there was not. So we're existing with this poet somewhere in the in-between. And there is, not necessarily the poet, but there's a subject who just seems to be like a person. And then we have the object of the poem. And I think I'm still wondering who exactly this object is. And we might look for some kind of clues to answer this question. This would probably help deeply with our interpretation. I should have been far from you. I wanted insurmountable obstacles. I wanted great mountains, deep seas. So we have an interesting variation on the start. I should have been either close to you or far away, but we switch to I should have been just far from you. So I was not far from you. I wanted these obstacles, I wanted the mountains, I wanted the seas, and did not accomplish them. I shouldn't have had the strength to come to you. Okay. So this informs our interpretation. Strength to come to you. I shouldn't have had, thus I did. I did have the strength to come to you. So these two met, these ended up with some proximity. I should have poured all the wrath of my helplessness into the distances. Like a shepherd's fire burning on a mountain, like a star in the sky. So these both, right? Visible, but distant. I should have seen you, lived you, and been so far away from you. And yet this did not happen. I think there's a person who can't stay away from a person that should have been far away. Yeah, this is what we're sort of outlining, I think, in these first three stanzas. I should have stayed away. I did not. We ended up in proximity. Something happens. And so we have this last stanza. I know your beauty resembles underground rivers. I know you're as beautiful as a secret. Beauty resembles underground rivers. What sort of qualities does an underground river have in our minds? Any ideas, Solina? What, if the beauty resembles an underground river, what is the beauty like? What are the qualities of an underground river? One that first comes to my head is somewhat hidden. Oops. Hidden away. Underground, right? You can't see them. That's one quality, probably. They're dark. Wait. What am I waiting for? I can wait. Underground rivers must be secret. Or like hidden treasure. Okay. Secret. Hidden treasure. Sure. They're dark, they're hidden away, they're secret. Hidden treasure. Probably difficult to get to, I would think. Also why one might hide their treasure there, so no one can find it. Kind of remote. And this all makes sense with what we've been talking about. Distance, but not actually touching. When they say underground rivers, first thing that comes to my mind is a unbelievable beautifulness, bluish atmosphere, lights, and I see, like a sort of gemstone filled cave, crystals, this kind of stuff. So there's a beauty, there's a maybe like mystical aspects to this. Maybe that it is this hidden away treasure, untouched by people, and just beautiful. So two big ideas: beauty, remoteness. And in some case, probably beauty because of it. Right? These things come together. In a way, it is beautiful because it is so difficult and so untouched and so, for lack of a better word, virgin. Untouched land. Perfect, quiet, still place. After that sentence, the other one tells that. Yeah, I know you are as beautiful as a secret. So he specifically describes secrets as beautiful, so perhaps there is some of that as well. There are feelings that cannot be expressed. There are songs that we love but cannot sing. So we have some emotion toward the song. We love it. But we are not in any way able to act on this love. Poems, beautiful language that have now slipped our mind, that have gone away. Again, that beauty, that not being able to attain it, the feeling that can't be expressed, familiar faces, ones we once loved, that we no longer recognize. This poet is like feeling of something being stuck in the throat. Yeah. Yeah, I understand. So, and even that, something you want to say, something stuck in your throat, not quite being able to speak, not quite there. So then, what does this mean? There are feelings that cannot be expressed. There are songs that we love but cannot sing, poems we have forgotten, familiar faces that we no longer recognize. And these things tend to stay that way. The poems forgotten, these all feel kind of permanent, right? We cannot sing. We can no longer. We have forgotten. These are very kind of set in stone. At least this expression of it feels as such. We might not try to learn how to sing this song because we're not a singer. We are never able to find this poem. We've forgotten. It just always slips out of our hands. We can never find the poem, no matter how much we look. Someone's familiar, but we don't quite know from where. So how does that relate to the start? I should have either been so close to you or so far away. There should have been distance between us. I should have been far from you. I shouldn't have had the strength to come to you. Should have stayed at this distant admiration. And I think these have that echo of distant, non-experiential admiration, where instead of actually singing the song, having the poem, there's some lost feeling to it. And the person would maybe be more beautiful still at a distance. Because once you actually begin to, I guess, do the practice of love, when this person met them, when they found proximity, something happened that they did not want, right? They should not have done it. I think probably because it was in some way less beautiful than they imagined. This perfect secret thing fundamentally stops being perfect and secret and untouched when you touch it. It stops being a secret when it is told. It's the dynamic of wanting something, but once you have it, it is no longer actually what it was before. And he should have appreciated this as it was, as a perfect secret at a distance, rather than coming close. There are songs that we love but cannot sing. And there's people we love but shouldn't love. Yeah. And I don't think necessarily even because this love hurt him in some way. Him? Maybe? I don't know anything about this poet. But instead because upon meeting this person, truly in love, something was lost of the entire hopeful mystique of it. A contradiction. We're going to run an ad, take a little break, and then come back to this one and talk about it more. See you in 2 minutes. Do some self-care. Hello, and welcome back. I am still Jenny, still the poet of Twitch, and still 2/3 Lotus. We are still reading The Call of Darkness by Ümit Yaşar Oğuzcan, translated by YoungSolina in chat. The Call of Darkness. I never wanted it to be like this. I should have either been so close to you or so far away. There should have been insurmountable obstacles between us. There should have been high mountains, deep seas. I should have been far from you. I wanted insurmountable obstacles between us. I wanted great mountains, deep seas between us. I shouldn't have had the strength to come to you. I should have poured all the wrath of my helplessness into the distances. Like a shepherd's fire, burning on a mountain, like a star in the sky. I should have seen you, lived you, and been so far away from you. I know your beauty resembles underground rivers. I know you are as beautiful as a secret. There are feelings that cannot be expressed. There are songs that we love but cannot sing. Poems we have forgotten, familiar faces we can no longer recognize. You know, after every failed relationship, I always said, I never wanted it to be like this. Yeah, I mean, we do not set out for such things to happen. And there is a necessity of time and things that need to happen here. Yeah. So, that first line, I never wanted it to be like this. It's just that. It's regret. Regret. I could have not done this. It would not have had this outcome. And we would not have suffered in this way. And I think this last line, familiar faces we can no longer recognize. I find this directly referring to the object of the poem, the partner in question, she with beauty that resembles underground rivers. Familiar face, and that face that was once familiar has become unrecognizable. This feeling of once loving someone and now not knowing who they are. Once knowing the poem, now having forgotten it. Even loving the song, but not being able to sing it, not being able to love in practice. So I do see this maybe as quite the fallout of this relationship, right? I can no longer recognize your face, this says. But I guess when the face in his head was always this face of perfection, this beautiful secret, this underground river, characterized by its hiddenness, characterized by its distance, by its mystique, by its non-traversability, of course, when he comes to enter this underground river, love this person, he will see that it's an entirely different thing from what he expected. I should have poured all the wrath of my helplessness. The wrath of my helplessness, this energy, this strength that comes from that distance. Not into closing them, but into the distances itself. He should have kept that distance, maintained it, so that this beauty would never have gone. Now I wonder if he thought this, like later, let's say a year after the poem, because I think sometimes we're like, I should never have done this. But then, as we think on it more, it's like, well, the experience was still a good one, and there were many good things about it. This tends to be how it is with love. And then it ends and it collapses. And it kind of gives an interesting question for the reader, like, is failed love worth it? That's like a big question. Like, it asks a wonderfully big, great question, and the poem seems to say that no. I never wanted it, I should not. Of course, the other option is, I should have either been so close to you. We only mentioned this once, but the other option would be to truly have loved and not had it end. Of course it did, so that doesn't matter. What's my take on is failed love worth it? I think it is. I have no interest in stifling experiences of my own. I do not want to stop myself from doing something just because it could end. You know, this Twitch channel could go nowhere. It could stop at 198 followers and never grow further. It's possible. And it could get buried in algorithmic slop and never continue to grow. Now, does that mean if it did not succeed in some way that I define as success, as like being a Twitch channel, that it was not worth doing? No, of course it was worth doing. I like this channel. I've read like hundreds or more than 100 poems on stream. I've helped people. I've had people tell me they've gotten better at poetry because of me. So of course. And that's the thing, like, we learn through experiences. So every time I've had failed love, I've learned from it. We have, like, my most recent ex, who I thought was great, and things were great for a little bit. Things were great for, like, 3 months, and then everything collapsed really fast, and she did some really not cool stuff, and I did a really not cool thing, and then it just ended. But, like, do I wish it didn't happen? No, I don't wish it didn't happen. Because I, like, learned more about people and how to treat people and all that. Failed loves are our teachers for the next ones. Yeah, exactly. And, there are loves where I came out from the back end of it probably worse off than when I went in terms of, like, the prior ex made my life, like, genuinely worse in measurable ways. But do I wish it didn't happen? No. And that one's bad enough that I almost wish it didn't happen. But I would not change any of the experiences I've had. If we don't love, how are we gonna... If we don't love how we know it's gonna be failed, and how we know it's not... Yeah. Like, we don't know if we don't do things. There's, like, the Michael Jordan basketball quote, you know, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. Like, if you avoid all love because it might fail, you're never going to have love. Yeah, I mean, you could stumble into it, not realizing it's love. I guess you could accidentally do that. I'd probably rather accidentally fall in love than try to fall in love. Seems much more enjoyable. But, yeah, I would not change a thing. The title's interesting. Oh, the title makes sense. The title makes sense. The Call of Darkness, right? The Call of the Cave. That which is dark and mysterious and sort of the secret, right? This person is the secret, and you want to know what's there. And once you know what's there, the darkness is no longer scary or interesting or mystical or confusing or beautiful because you understand it. So that's yeah. This interpretation makes sense. Like, I think the poem is fairly straightforward, but it's a very genuine like telling by this poet of things. I would say in general, YoungSolina, with your translation, and I'm not sure about the original text of the poem, but generally the language you've used in your translation is like pretty simple. I never wanted it to be like this. Pretty straightforward lines, the call of darkness. I should have either been so close to you or so far away. Like, these are pretty like straightforward meanings. And I don't know how he wrote. Maybe his writing was very like straightforward, simple, in which case this is probably a great translation. But that's like one thought. Like, the allure of darkness, perhaps. Or even, something along those lines. They're like probably more inherently poetic words that could be used in a lot of places here, but I'm not sure if that's honest to the poem, so can't be sure about that one. But I want to hear your thoughts about the poet, or should I keep it to the end? Tell me your thoughts about the poet, because I think this is like roughly my interpretation. I don't see much of another one that I could come to, and in that case, you can tell me what you think. I would love to hear like your like thoughts on the translation. If like I don't know Turkish, but how you did it, and if you feel like if there's any way I can help you with the poeticness of the English that still sort of fits within the translation. It's straightforward, but the most important part is the deep meaning. Yeah. I used to feel connected to the poem once. Might be about someone falling in love with another person, yet realizing they shouldn't be together. Perhaps it conveys the idea that a person must stay away from the one they love, because being with them also could cause harm. Yeah, absolutely. And I think on an even broader level, I would expand the interpretation to be that sometimes, at least the poet says, or the subject says, not knowing something is better than knowing it. Leaving something in the dark, leaving the beautiful underground river gemstone cave untouched and untreaded can be a better thing. Of course, with people, that's one thing, but also anything. Like, knowledge can kind of be inversely proportional to beauty. The more we know something, the more we know its imperfection. We could think about him going in this underground river and it being slightly less beautiful and crystalline and blue glowing compared to what he imagined. And then he looks at the crystals closely, and each of them are imperfect and not that ideal. And it doesn't really glow with blue. His tunnel is lit by a torch or a flashlight. And then, like, suddenly all of these creations of the mind are less real in reality. And in that regard, it's maybe a warning against so much idealization, or a warning that if you have idealized something so much, you might avoid experiencing it truly. Which is interesting advice. I don't think it's always bad advice. Is there a reason why you don't feel connected to the poem anymore, YoungSolina? Because you say you once did. And maybe it's because you now have that feeling failed loves are our teachers for the next ones, that you don't agree with what he's saying anymore. But I do wonder. Like, these are interesting things to look at, you know. You're not in love anymore. Fair enough. Yeah, and I think one who is not in love, I'm not in love with anyone. Like, I can still feel connected to this poem through my past, through the fact that it, like, these ideas are tensions, genuine tensions we feel. Do I appreciate from afar? Do I actually act on this? Do I try to delve into this tunnel, this underground river, the darkness? And I think the further you kind of expand it into like a metaphorical thing, like I do feel like I can feel connected to this poem. Not in a deep way, just because I'm probably not going to read it much after this. I have a connection with it as much as I have with any of the other poems I read. That chapter is closed, that's why. Yeah. When we were kids, maybe a piece of candy placed in front of us. We knew we weren't supposed to eat it. We wanted it so badly, all we could do was desire it. Or in desperation, we wished for some greater force to take it away. That's a great analogy of this. I always felt that way about that person. Like a candy I shouldn't eat from the start. And then you indulge, or you don't. Did you heed the warning of Ümit Yaşar Oğuzcan, or did you eat the candy? I think I've done this. You ate the candy then spat. Yeah, that makes sense. Fair enough. But then you also, it seems, with the message of the failed loves, you see that as a teacher, not something you wish never happened? Or is it that you wish it never happened and you do agree with Oğuzcan? Sounds like you don't actually come to the same conclusion yourself, unless you would go back and rewrite and should have. Should you have done it? I guess is what I'm asking. But that's fun to have that very direct relation to the poem. To have experienced similar things. I don't think I never wanted it. Okay. Yeah. And that maybe could explain why the connection has dwindled to this poem as well, because this poem would be advice for the person not trying to eat the candy, but if they eat it and then realize that things are kind of okay after that, then Oğuzcan's regret doesn't make so much sense. I like the poem. And I relate to it in some ways. In that same way, I also don't relate to it, but it's cool. And the translation is really cool. I wonder I had like one question about the translation, right? You have there should have been high mountains, deep seas, and then you have great mountains, deep seas. In the original, in the Turkish, are there different words used for great and high? Or was this a choice that you made as a translator to like have that variety? Or were they just different words and then thus different translations? And then I guess also in the original with like the I should have this very like repeated I wanted. Is it kind of the same in the original that it is direct repetition of the exact same things? Because I was thinking like, oh, there's this theme of very similar repetition, but then we have the mountains described differently in two different stanzas. And I'm like, oh, is that supposed to be different? In which case, it's like an interesting detail of the poem as well as the translation. I'm asking you, Selena. As the translator, I have not translated a poem before because I know one language. I'm happy to hear you like the poet. Yeah, it should come as no surprise. I'm not good at not liking poetry. In the original, the first mountain is yüksek, which means high. And then the second mountain is something else, which means great. Second one is büyük, which means big. Okay, beautiful, awesome. Then that makes sense. High mountains, deep seas, great mountains, deep seas. But then in the original, sea is described in the same way both times. It's kind of a cool little touch in the poem, changing that. But is deep the same both times as well in the original? I'm just curious. They are the same. Okay. That's cool. I like it. Just for a little bit of variation. I think that works well in the poem. Cool. Do you have any other questions for me, YoungSolina, about this poem specifically? You don't? Okay. I know it's kind of like a short analysis. Did I enjoy it? Yeah, I super enjoyed it. And I guess I can say my favorite part, my favorite line, because people tend to like hearing that. And I think it's probably... I mean, I really like the underground river is beautiful as a secret. Actually, I might like the title the most. The Call of Darkness. Just because it broadens like the theme of the poem as being related to a specific person, but then talking in general about like the allure of the unknown, which I like in my head as like a broader theme to this poem. So I think I like the title. Which part do I think is the deepest meaning? Deepest meaning. I mean, rereading when I came back and read the whole thing the second time, I never wanted it to be like this. I think is one of the most important and like kind of powerful lines in a way. I like the shepherd's fire burning on the mountain, the star in the sky. I should have poured all the wrath of my helplessness into the distances. Maybe that right, the wrath of my helplessness, this feeling of needing to come closer, of wanting this connection, and instead of pouring that energy into coming closer, pouring that wrath into the distance itself. It's sort of like an interesting inversion. And it also speaks to something that I think the subject could not have done, because the wrath of the helplessness so deeply desires for the distance to be closed. There is no way that this person could have gone back and used that wrath to broaden the distance. I think it really just speaks to a sort of like fundamental human condition thing of regretting the things we did as if we ever had a choice in the matter, as if we could have changed like the ways we acted, which I think probably in terms of like depth speaks to kind of like the human psyche, but then also familiar faces we can no longer recognize gives a lot of room for thought, and whether, the subject no longer recognizes the other face, the other person, the lover, or kind of other meanings that might stem from that. So there's that. Which part has... Yeah. And I think the Call of Darkness, like the title in a way, has that deep meaning as well, because it expands on the scope of the poem. But that's not necessarily like depth. It's like breadth. So title might be my favorite. The thing that I find very deep is the pouring of the wrath of the helplessness. It's a very cool line. Any other questions? I'm happy to answer questions for as long as you want. Thank you for giving your time to this poem. It was very important for me, and I enjoyed hearing your thoughts. But of course, I am also glad that you took the time to translate it and send it. That means a lot, in a sense, to me. Like you clearly have a lot of, like you said, connection, feeling for this poem. So sending it along, is awesome. Mantle Merchant, hello. What submission number am I on? 100 and in the teens, the 100 and teens. And you're 118, maybe, Mantle Merchant, but today was the second submission for today. So there's no more things being analyzed. But maybe we could talk about your song, because it's not, because it's different, and it wouldn't, wear on me so much. It's probably poetry, but it's not the same. It's different. We'll see. I'm going to read this poem one more time, though, because we're finishing up this one. The Call of Darkness, by Ümit Yaşar Oğuzcan, translated beautifully by YoungSolina. I never wanted it to be like this. I should have either been so close to you or so far away. There should have been insurmountable obstacles between us. There should have been high mountains, deep seas. I should have been far from you. I wanted insurmountable obstacles between us. I wanted great mountains, deep seas between us. I shouldn't have had the strength to come to you. I should have poured all the wrath of my helplessness into the distances, like a shepherd's fire burning on a mountain, like a star in the sky. I should have seen you, lived you, been so far away from you. The pacing on these is really cool. Helplessness, the distances. That's cool. I know your beauty resembles underground rivers. I know you are as beautiful as a secret. There are feelings that cannot be expressed. There are songs that we love but cannot sing, poems we have forgotten, familiar faces we can no longer recognize. The Call of Darkness by Ümit Yaşar Oğuzcan. Again, translated wonderfully by YoungSolina. Thank you so much for translating. Thank you so much for sending it. Great poem, great work. I like. I like it. It's good. Thank you.
Thank you for watching. I encourage you to check out the rest of the series, follow if you enjoyed, and stop by Twitch if you want to share your own work. See you there.